and welcome. Hey, and welcome, you guys. Welcome back. Before we get started, please do all of the things at the bottom of the screen. Like the video is a free way to support the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tell a friend to tell a friend, please and thank you. Comment down in the comment section, sharing your thoughts, but keeping it cute, okay? And speaking of sharing, share this video where you share your videos because sharing is indeed caring. And if you want to put a little something in the tip jar, the Cashapp and Venmo are there for you to do so. Now we're getting right back into the thing. We're here for Apple TV's Imperfect Women. This is either going to be episode 3 solo or episodes 3 and 4. We're going to see because I don't want to make these videos too long. Okay, I thought about doing 1, 2, and 3. I thought about doing 1, 2, 4. Girl, you talking. Ain't nobody care about that. Episode 3 is titled Monster. Okay. We pick up where we left off in episode 2 with Eleanor discovering the letter and Robert walking in to ask her, what's going on? Are you okay? Why are you rummaging through my dead wife's things? Right? She's upset that he already knew about the affair and questions like, baby, did you take Nancy out? Because really, I have to question that. Now Eleanor, he definitely is on the suspect board, but it's probably too obvious. Although he is obviously an asshole. So she's asking, was it sex revenge? Was it payback? And Robert explains Nancy was in the shower and her phone wouldn't stop going off. And he wasn't the type of guy to, go through her phone, but it just wouldn't stop. And he saw a text with a nude of her. But when he called back, the number was blocked. Okay. So he confronts her. She admitted it with no problem. And he was angry, but he says he didn't hurt her. He was throwing some things. He was screaming and yelling. So it was definitely giving aggressive and, violent. But he says he didn't hurt her. And she was supposed to go end it. He says he did because she asked, did she ask you to go with her? And he said no. We find out why she asked that later. So he says that the police, did see the journal, but found it was unhelpful. Now, clearly, I was saying to myself, clearly that letter wasn't in that journal, okay? Because had that letter been in that journal, that letter would have been something that was helpful, useful, whatever you want to call it, okay? And baby, this episode for Eleanor is taking L's. L stands for taking L's, okay? It's going to go from bad to worse. Like this is just barely scratching the surface. So Eleanor makes it back to the city and she meets with Mary and, they're having coffee and talking about Nancy's journal right before she's got to go to her awards banquet. So Eleanor's company, I hate that I didn't write the name down. It's like a rescue company, if you will. It deals with, it looks like child, I forgot. I didn't write it down. I'm going to try to remember in another recap and give y'all exactly the name of the business and exactly what she does. But it looks like it's some type of rescue and maybe placement with children. So, it's a big to-do. Like I said, she's going to have an award ceremony. There's people from a magazine there. They're taking pictures. They're then to, interview her. And they're there to conduct an interview, right? And while all of this is going on, she's having flashbacks. Oh, and while she's having the flashbacks, well, not while she's having flashbacks, she's having flashbacks while she's taking photos and just all different things that, going on. She got Robert in her head. She got Nancy in her head. There's a lot going on up there. So Jordan kind of pulls her to the side about their relationship only to get dumped, okay? Because he has had enough, and apparently so has Eleanor. And I said, why do you have that fine black man in front of you? You want Robert's raggedy ass, because Robert ain't even fine like that, but I guess, child. So when she gets to the part of the interview part of it, he wants to ask about Nancy's death, but that's not why he's supposed to be there, okay? So she redirects him. And I said, our girl Eleanor can't catch a break. I ain't feel bad because you have to go sleep with that dead lady husband. I'm going to say it again, okay? So after a glorious speech, okay, at this ceremony, Mary shows Eleanor on her phone. She took a picture of her phone that Nancy drew. And she says, she looks terrified of this person, the way she drew it. And the only person who terrified her that much was Scott. Now, we learn who Scott is, I believe, in episode 4. And Eleanor's like, oh, that looks like the guy in the denim jacket at the back in the funeral, child. I told you to put denim jacket down in your notepads. And now denim jacket has come back around. And Mary is ready to run to the police and tell it all, okay? I don't know if Mary's giving guilty. I don't know if Mary's giving an associate. I don't know what Mary's giving, but Mary's ready to go tell it on the mountain. When they get interrupted by Eleanor's brother, who is late, might I ask. Um, so they have a quick conversation, and then Eleanor, she leaves. Now, on her way home, she gets this long ass message from Roberts, and her dumb ass runs right back to the Ojai house and right back into Robert's arms. That's why I don't feel bad for her, okay? So they have yet another session. I said, baby, what about your friends? That lady's not cold in the ground. And you taking her man down. Yay. So after that, they decide to go have a little dip in the pool. He's in the pool. He put her in the pool. And what happens? They taking a dip in the pool only to be discovered by Cora and her friend, who have come to the Ojai house on a grief journey. One second, y'all. Okay, sorry, y'all. We back. Mommy duty calls, and I guess it was snack o'clock for him. Anyway, so Cora, and now, like I said, Cora and her friends show up. They were going on a little grief journey. They had little drinks. They was going to come kick it at the Ohio house, look through the mama's things and reminisce. Now, I said, Eleanor, you got to be careful the words you speak. You told that lady to keep the things that was really close and put the rest of the things at the Ohio house that she could visit. Now, she done come to visit, and you somebody rocking, knocking the boots up in the pool with the dad. Now, y'all wasn't knocking the boots in the pool, and better she caught you in the pool than while y'all was in the bed bumping and grinding. But Cora just earlier on was texting Eleanor, I think early in the episode, for support. And now she's standing there questioning whether you are sleeping with her dad. Is my mom's best friend really sleeping with my dad? Now, they deny it, but she is old enough to know better. She's not believing anything that they're selling. And even after all of this, because he basically like, you go get some rest. I'm going to take you back to school. Eleanor stays her happy ass there with Cora and the friend in the house. And then leaves in the morning. I said, yeah, girl, like what is you on? Is you cool? It wouldn't be me. Would y'all do? No, y'all wouldn't do no stuff like that. Get down in the comments. Anyway. So she goes skipping her happy ass into work the next day. She is floating on cloud nine. I don't know why you're on cloud nine, ma'am. You got caught. Okay. The D must be good, but you got caught. She goes floating in only to have her bubble burst. Now, Jordan didn't come into work, but that's not even the problem, okay? You can see folks as she's walking in, they're looking, they're kind of, giving her a look. Maybe there's a little whispers going on. So she's asking, yeah, what's up? Why is everybody being weird? And apparently there's a TikTok that was posted by Cora. Okay. Marcus had to be one to show her because I told you Marcus Mary's son work over there down to doing the volunteering to the place with Eleanor, right? Cora gonna say, don't you hate it when your dead mom's best friend F's your dad? Oh, just me. I said, yikes, yikers. But baby, you deserve every bit of that. Y'all thought y'all was gonna tell this young girl something, but it was very clear. It was giving awkward. Okay. So she leaves work and she gets a call from her brother Donovan, and she tries to tell him that is BS. But again, he knows better. The 18-year-old, 19-year-old, however old Cora is, she know better, and your brother knows better. Okay. And he's telling her they're gonna have to do damage control. I get Google alerts. Mama ready to head on down here, sort this thing out. Like I said, they are black, but they are a black affluent family, and I really want to know who Mama Kerry Washington is. Bring in the mama and let's see. We got Leslie Odom. Let's see who they're gonna have for the mama. I don't think they are. I gotta go back and look at the cast list, but I don't think there was no black mama there. But they got to do that. He's telling her, we got to do damage control because his family will, the Hennessy's don't play, and you're about to have the stink on you. But Eleanor is, she just can't believe nothing. Okay. Her head is just very deeply in the clouds. So she runs to Mary for solace and has to tell her, look, child, I done slept with Robert over in the Ojai house. We got caught by Cora. Now Cora done posted a TikTok. And now everybody's questioning, have we been having this affair prior to this lady? Because now you're both looking suspect. Now it looks like, were y'all having an affair before? Yeah, stick with me here. Then she proceeds to tell Mary about Robert's letter, and Mary want to take it to the police, but Eleanor's like, no, Robert couldn't do such a thing. I said, ma'am, I just wanted to take her and just shake her a little bit, because Eleanor, girl, what is you doing? Eleanor believes that Oh, so she's like, basically, girl, that man did not choose you. Okay, he ain't want you, he ain't choose you, he ain't want you, he ain't want you, he ain't want you. And Eleanor's like, he's choosing me now, girl. I said, girl, please. Is he though? Is he? He's not. We find out that he's not. So she reminds Mary, baby, but your marriage started an affair. Mary looked like she could have slapped her face off. Mary says, baby, you don't know what the real is, okay? You don't know about the laundry on the floor. You don't know about the dishes in the sink and the bippity bippity. Baby, I know all about it. I ain't got no husband, but I know about them kids and all them duties, okay? So Mary tells Eleanor, you are being used, okay? And she basically escorts that lady, get the fuck out of my house, okay? Escorts Eleanor's ass out of her house. That is my best friend. Who are you to sleep with my best friend's husband when she's barely in the ground? And who are you to call me out on the affair that ain't got nothing to do with you? And still, what does Eleanor do? She runs right to Robert's house, where she's met outside by the detective. The detective saying they got a call on a tip line from Jordan, who she was sleeping with. Now, we saw her earlier tell Jordan, like, if they question you, because she had been saying, keep it on the cute, don't say nothing. But she said, if they question you, it's okay to say that we was together, okay? Because Eleanor needed that alibi. But he told the police essentially the same thing that he told her, which was there was a time gap. Like between the time of the text is not the time that it took you to get to the house. There was hours that's unaccounted for. So she basically arrived to Jordan at 1 a.m. and Nancy was, unalived around midnight. Robert says he was home, but no one can corroborate. You said you was home, but now y'all having an affair out there. So, the police detective is asking her, like, were you trying to throw us off with the lover thing, the David thing? Because you were the one that brought it up. I said, oh, Eleanor, girl, it's not looking too good for you. Yet and still, she walks right into Robert's house. Okay. The family has all the folks on board. Everybody's on deck, okay, to control the situation. It's dripping with folks. Folks is typing, folks is doing things that they need to do. So Kit is looking at her like, you little scallywag. But she go on past Kit. She asked to talk to Robert privately in the room. She talked to Robert, and Robert's listening like, Cora will not take the video down for nothing, okay? And Eleanor's like, oh, I'm going to call her. And she's like, no, just let her be. Give her some space. Like, don't say nothing to her. Let her rock. She's staying with his sister, Kit. So Eleanor is like, oh, we can make a joint statement and we can deny the rumors. People should really be focusing on finding Nancy's killer. And Robert's like, baby, it's too late for all of that. Okay, she tried to put a hand on him. He's like, He's like, my attorneys have advised me to cut all communication with you. And maybe that's exactly what Robert is planning to do. And suddenly she's regretting last night. She's like, what, last night? Robert cites it as grief. Okay, he's like, I am grieving my wife. My wife just died. I said, ooh, okay, Tasha is the love of his life. Anyway, yikes. I hate to see it. Like I said, Eleanor is taking L's. It's going from bad to worse. So he asked for his letter back, and Eleanor says, baby, F you and your sobriety. I can smell the whiskey on your breath. And she storms out. I said, child of delusion. Okay, this is why you should have had a wake-up call a lot sooner. So now she has to rely on her family to get her through it, okay? Because ain't that how it goes, okay? You break it, they got to pick it up, put the pieces back together. So she, talking to her brother. Her brother's, holding her, hugging her, letting her cry. Then she lets him read Robert's letter. And she reveals that every year on the anniversary of their dad's passing, for 10 years, you find out, for 10 years, Nancy would loan her Robert for a fishing trip, child. She said Robert would not say nothing. Robert would just show up and they would go out for the day and, do whatever. And that she thinks, it was just like Nancy kind of pitied. Nancy kind of pitied her. And I'm like, baby, when them feelings hit hard, they hit hard. That's why I'm like, you just jumped onto this thing, the limerence of it all. So her brother's like, listen, I need to know everything that happened. And baby, we get exactly that. We get all that because she is down to the lawyers. Okay. The, child, what is their last name? I can't remember. Eleanor Bouquet. I can't remember their last name. You remember, get down in the comments. If not, I'll put it in on one of the videos. They got the whole lawyers lined up at the table. So she got to Jordan's. I think it was like 9 something. She got the text. She ends up getting the Jordan's at 10:15, but she didn't go in because she got a text from Mary's son Marcus. He owed some bookies money, and she went to pick him up, and then she went back to Jordan's around 1 o'clock. But listen, Marcus is on probation, so she wants to leave his name out of it. I thought that was very nice of you. Also, Mary's on her ass. She's on her ass. She's in her ass. So she don't want that trouble with Mary. Um, Now in the parking deck, after a conversation with her brother, Eleanor has a flashback of the night that Nancy died. Now, Nancy had begged her to go with her to end it, and she's like, girl, because Nancy is saying to her, it's so much worse than you think, and she can't do it alone. And Eleanor was like, girl, you will be fine. She tells her no. So Eleanor, getting her car, minding her business, Nancy hops in there with her, and Eleanor's like, listen, I'm tired of hearing about this man. Get your shit together. And sometimes you do got to tell your friends to get their shit together, but I was just like, ooh, girl. She's like, you have an amazing marriage. Does she though? Is that the jealousy speaking though, Eleanor? So they're going back and forth, baby. And she threw Eleanor out of her car. And I was like, because that's the flashback we kept seeing. We saw her driving away. We didn't know what had happened, but she drove away and left her. And that was the last time she saw her. And I said, who does that to their best friend? Like I said, now you might got to tell your friend, girl, get your shit together, okay? Get your shit together. You might got to tell her, yeah, you're a big girl, you can put on your panties. But I'm like, if you were really that scared, don't let that lady go by herself. I don't know if I would have been the one to go, but I'd be like, maybe tonight is not the night. Maybe you want to take somebody with you. Why you couldn't volunteer Donovan or somebody? No, let's not put the black man in there. Anyway, we could have done something other that. You know, we're supposed to be friends. We're gonna figure something out, because I don't know if I'm gonna get my ass involved. We're gonna figure it out. So as Eleanor is laying in her bed, you know, with all these thoughts dancing through her head, and it's seemingly in the middle of the night, 'cause it looks very dark. All the lights is off. She just, someone is banging on her door like the police. Lo and behold, and lo, it is Mary. And Mary says, I know who David is. And that's where the episode ends, baby. We had 17 minutes. So I'm going to try to get through episode 4, which was titled Nancy, because it wasn't really too much. So let's see what we can get. Let's try to keep it around the 35-minute mark. So in episode 4, what we're getting some flashbacks to Nancy's childhood, like throughout the episode, really like more so her teen years. And she's narrating how Robert's wealth helped transport her into a new world, because she always believed she could fly, you know? And every year she threw a New Year's party to celebrate. And that's where we're going to spend this episode, also at her last New Year's party. Now we get a quick rewind to their first party. Robert couldn't keep his hands off of Nancy. Nancy was so nervous, but this is to be sweet and loving, and like he was actually interested in her wife. I mean, at least sexually, child. But then fast forward 17, 18 years later to this very last New Year's party, and things are just very different. We see Nancy telling the bartender that he's kind of setting things up wrong. And he's got some choice words about the Hennessy family, baby, okay? When she introduces herself. And he's a little worried, okay? But we find out that his name is David. And I said, could this be the David? And at first we thought so. We thought so till we got to the end of the episode. He is young. He is handsome. And we find out later in the episode that he's also from her old stomping grounds. You know, Nancy a little bit from the hood, a little bit trailer park section. And he's from over there too. So Nancy got a little hiccup in her planning. And in comes Mary and the girls to help. Now, when they come in to help, the girls kind of step away. And Mary is telling Nancy that Howard's class load has been cut. And, Nancy offers to help again, baby, again. Keyword is again, because, baby, Howard got standards. Howard, I need you to get another job or do something. Okay, you have a family to provide for, Howard. I'm not really approving of this. And, part of it was they wanted him to get into these TikTok topics. But sometimes, you just got to kind of embrace it and figure out how to make it your own, to keep that roof above your head so you can find something better. Do what they need you to do until you can find where you want to be and get on out of there, okay? But don't leave your family hanging in the lurch. So Nancy ends up asking one of her ballet friends, Phil, to offer him a job, because he really, he talks to him, but Phil ain't really want to have nothing to do with Howard. So she offers to increase her donation to make it happen. So Nancy, she goes to talk to Robert because something is amiss. He had told her he's going to be in the office handling some business with his sister before, before the party got started. So Kid is leaving out like, oh, he don't want no company, baby. I am not company. I'm the wife. So she goes on in there. They're fresh off an argument, and she tries to, inquire about what's going on. but he won't give her much information. She's asking about a meeting he went to, but Robert is like, So she tries to take his mind off it like they used to do back in the day, get a little bump it and grind before the people get there, give the people to walk up something to walk up on. But Robert isn't really up for the task, okay? And we find out later that Robert, they and her might have had a lot of problems, but Robert was always up for the task. So I know that threw her for a loop. And at that moment, we get a flashback to a teenage Nancy in the car with Scott. And now Mary had mentioned Scott in episode 3, the one in the drawing that she was supposed to be scared of. And this is her mama's boyfriend. Now, he is also highly inappropriate with Nancy. We're going to say inappropriate. Y'all read between the lines. In exchange for things like ballet lessons being paid for and point shoes. Now, the girl she looked just hella awkward, okay? She took the money, but she looked like she didn't want that dirty old man to touch her as she should. Back in somewhat present day, the last New Year's party, Mary's asking, we see. So, get your thoughts together, Kira. Nancy was talking to Robert's dad and Kit, and it was getting kind of a little weird. So when they walk away, Mary's asking if the dad was flirting with her again. And I'm like, ooh, yikes. So it's giving similar to the situation with Scott, but just in, a more high class situation. I said the dad was giving me creep vibes at the memorial. And it wasn't outright. It was just, the little underlying something's not right. So now Eleanor arrived. She was at town, but she pulls up, okay? She gets her drink. She's looking cute. And Nancy wants to hook her up with an eligible black bachelor, okay? But Eleanor don't want no black bachelor. She wants your husband, boo, okay? Eleanor is bored, okay? She leaves that man in the dust. And later on, we find her over there talking to Robert, who says, that's not her type. Nancy's like, how do you know? Oh, he knows. And you know, because he's her type. So Nancy takes the time to pull Harlan, who is the family wealth manager, to the side for answers, but he can't really give her answers because she knows something going on. Kit looking kind of fishy. The folks are standing in the corner having conversation, and nobody's telling her. And she's just always been an outsider, right? Excuse me. But he can't give her anything. Meanwhile, he's there with his little young secretary because she's like, how dare you, okay? How dare you act like you stand on ethics and you got this little girl here? But essentially, he's like, it's survival, okay? So in my need for survival, I am not telling you anything. He goes on about his business. Kit comes over, finds Nancy, asks for a cup of coffee for the dad. But when they go to get the coffee, she's asking Nancy, what was you talking to Harlan about? What you was saying to Harlan, Nancy, you need to mind your business. Some things are just not your business. It's family business, okay? And Nancy's like, listen, I'm just trying to connect with you. Like, I understand what your freaking problem is. She thinks that Kit is upset that the dad gave them the house. She's like, I can talk to the dad about the house. She's like, who do you think sent me here? I said, ooh, touche, checkmate. And Kit says, everything you do is transactional. Always has been. And Robert is just starting to wake up to it. Actually, Bobby, okay? Because Kit and the dad call him Bobby, okay? His name is Robert. They call him Bobby like he's still a little boy. So Nancy goes upstairs. She's all flustered. She want to find some answers, but first she's in her bedroom. She goes into the bathroom inside of her bedroom, like the master bathroom, and her father-in-law was in the bathroom. In their bedroom. I'll say it again. I said, sir, absolutely not. What the audacity, okay? At first she thinks he's lost, but no, he's just being arrogant, okay? Because the man, his family grew up there. He owned it. He owns all of this. And that's how that's how he treats everything. Okay. Yeah, I got 7% of things. I like my wife. So she thinks that he's concerned about their spending and she promises to scale back in the future. And if she got to let go of the parties, she let go of the parties. And he says, I'd rather enjoy your parties. It'd be a shame not to have one next year. I said, ouch. What are you trying to say? It seems like Dad was always trying to give a little bit of heads up, okay? Because I could never get the feel whether he actually liked Nancy or not. He kind of liked Nancy in a creepy way, but whether he actually liked Nancy and was trying to give Nancy a heads up or what was going on with Dad. So like I said, she goes looking for answers. She quickly gets into Robert's laptop where she finds an email about separation of assets. And we see the words your wife, and we see any divorce proceedings, and now Nancy is slowly spiraling. Okay, she's spiraling. She's ready to, crash out. So she runs into Cora and her friends. Cora got on a trucker hat, baby. She got on this pregnant belly, some Daisy Duke. She's talking about, oh, it's a white, excuse me, a white trash theme party. And Nancy's like, you can't wear that. And she asked her to take it off. And she's like, are you making fun of me? Now, Cora is like, girl, what? But Cora doesn't know what she's talking about. And she calls her out like, not you being all judgmental, but you're here having this expensive ass party for you to go post on social media. So she's like, yeah, sorry, y'all. Cora not gonna be able to go. She can't make it. And Cora's like, you're fake and full of shit, baby. And speaking of shit, she gets the shit slapped out of her. Cora, that is, in front of everybody. Everybody's face was looking like, oh, okay. And Nancy runs off, and you can tell she's immediately remorseful. Now, earlier, we saw Nancy go in to borrow some American Girl dolls for Mary's girls and find Cora's dress balled up in the bottom of the closet. And this is when Cora takes the time to tell her, I'm not going to your little funky party, okay? Dad already knows. You're the only one who cares about the party. Like, I've been home for a week, and you ain't said 2 words to me, okay? So Cora was over at that point and threw her out of her room. So everything had just came to a boiling point. They had already had this conversation. Robert couldn't get it up. And then the dad talk about not having a party. It's clear they're having financial troubles. Everything is just, and she sees the word divorce. It just was all too much. Like I said, so between that and everything, Nancy's kind of feeling overwhelmed. We get another flashback to her teenage years. She gets home, her drunken mama asking her questions, baby, okay? She asks, where's Scott? She says, Scott out taking a walk. So the mama's like, okay, come take a drive. So the mom is like beating her upside of her head while she's driving, talking about, you're not the victim. You're not as innocent as you seem. And the mama proceeds to crash the car into something, sending Nancy flying out. She was trying to take Nancy out here to the upper room and I guess take herself to the down below. But one thing's for sure, that's what she was trying to do for Nancy, which is crazy as a mama because, you know, when the mamas be with these ain't shit men, baby, it's just too much. So this is how Nancy got those scars. Okay, so now we're back at this last New Year's Eve party. Eleanor and Mary kind of chasing her down because she's out of breath. She's running off. She's trying to, you know, like get herself together. So they're consoling her. And she's like, she feels like she's turning into her mother. You know, she's never hit Cora before. And they assure her, like, that's not the case. Like, your mama really tried to take you out, girl. Like, it's just a lie. And that's not what it is. So she goes to try to talk to Cora. And we hear, you know, Cora saying to the dad, like, my mom has never told me anything about her past. Like, I don't really even know who she is. And, you know, it's kind of crazy. And Robert's like, you know, it's not your fault. So Nancy walks in and she's apologizing, but Robert kind of gets up, interjects, and leads Nancy out the room. And he's like, you know, this is not like a warm milk kind of situation. She's going to remember it for the rest of her life. And Nancy's like, yes, that's why it's important to talk to her now. But Robert is not trying to let that girl go talk to her daughter. I thought that was crazy. Me and him would have to be rolling around on the floor, allegedly, okay? Because I'm her parent just like you're not her parent, okay? I'm just like you are her parent. And I will say this, it's like sometimes you try to protect your children from things, and the more you try to protect and shield your children from things, makes it worse and more harmful for them later. I understand that you didn't want to tell her everything about you, and I get that. And you kind of ashamed, embarrassed about where you came from. But now you get to a situation like this, she don't even know she's doing nothing wrong. And, you know, honestly, that was just a culmination of things of you being overwhelmed to get that reaction. But at the same time, had she known that, maybe she wouldn't have even done that. So sometimes it's will behoove you to share certain things with your kids as much as you're comfortable with, so they kind of get an idea of who you are, not only as a mother, but as a person, so they can offer you at least some little bit of sympathy or empathy, whichever may be the case. So she's trying to get a handle on what's going on with Robert, you know, between the two of them, but Robert don't want to talk about it. So they're cleaning up after the party. The bartender, you know, he asked her out for coffee or a drink, and he's trying to hand her his card, but she kind of turns him down. She's like, well, I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression. You did. Okay, so he's a little salty. He walks away. Nancy's sitting down on the bench and she picks up her phone. Now, I'm thinking after the interaction she just had with Hottie McHottie, who is David, who I'm thinking is the David, okay? Thinking she had her a cute little, you know, cougar cub kind of thing going on. I don't even know if he's that much younger than her. She gets on her phone to check the IG. I'm thinking she's going to look at him. Like I said, no, she looks up Scott, and baby, I was confusion. Because why would you look up that man? Why would you look up that man? He had an inappropriate relationship with you and it just was on, giving abusive. Anyway, so Howard, Mary's husband, comes over to grab one of the kids' jackets and he thanks her for the job opportunity. Phil offered him the job, but he called him David. He's like, I think he confused me with the bartender. I said, okay. Because I was thinking, well, maybe later on, Nancy had doubled back to David, the bartender. Not so much. So she's like, well, Phil calls me Louise, and maybe it's the only other old lady name that he can think of. And Howard's like, there's nothing old about Nancy. It has the whisper of dance. Okay, weren't you a dancer? I said, oh baby, the look on Nancy's face. Like he was speaking directly to her soul, like nobody else had seen her, okay? But Howard in that moment, he seen her, Dancy Nancy, okay? Excuse me, y'all. I should have muted it, just slept out. That the laugh and the cough. Anyway, we are rounding it down, getting around our goal time, okay? So he walks away. He says, I'll see you at the ballet, Louise. And as he's walking away, she says, see you there, David. And I said, baby, I know you. Not Mary's husband. Not Mary's husband. Okay, did y'all watch Paradise? This is my wife. Not Mary's husband, baby. Scandalous. Scandalous, 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 scandalous. They are both Eleanor and Mary are giving me envious of Nancy. Like Eleanor wants Robert. Mary wants like the life that I believe in. You can correct me if I'm wrong. The life that Nancy has. Okay, since Nancy don't really come from nothing. But damn, jealousy aside, like why would you go and sleep with that lady's husband? And it's like sleeping with the help. Excuse my language, because he ain't really got nothing. You had to go get him a job and his salary and everything. And I said, I told you, it's giving me frenemy vibes. It's giving me frenemy vibes, baby. I cannot stand it. Now, I think I might be putting a little extra on it. You really gotta be invested into what it is they're telling you in the story, because at times you could be like, I don't understand what y'all like about this show, and I get it. Okay, because the way Kerry Washington's character is, I get it. We get the beautiful Nancy. She ain't in here but 5 minutes, but we're gonna flashback the hell out of her character because we got to figure out how we got here, put the pieces of the puzzle together. And so I want you to get that in the comments, and I want you to tell me your thoughts on these first 4 episodes. We're doing 3 and 4 here. Get down and share and let me know what you think, okay? I appreciate y'all for coming through. Clap, clap for you. Clap, clap for me, okay? I appreciate you guys ever so kindly. I don't want to keep you here much longer. Like I said, we got to 30-something minutes. I ain't really want to give y'all 3 separate videos. So we got 2. We got 1 and 2, and we got 3 and 4. And I'll be back with 5 because 5 is out at some point. So keep your notifications on. I appreciate you guys ever so kindly. And I will see everybody in the next video. Peace out, y'all.